One of the great things about walking anywhere, Clumber Park, anywhere, any country park, just anywhere, just walking, as Julia Bradbury used to say, it's so good for mental health. And sometimes you might wonder why that is, but I've said to a few friends that are getting down and a bit fed up and even depression, I said, get out, just go for a walk, even if it's half an hour out of your day. It's something I didn't do years ago that I wish I'd done a bit more of, and I'm not talking about the weekends, I'm talking about daily. It really does, it's quite a funny thing. So as you're walking along, your breath adjusts and your body adjusts to the walking motion, and then you start to get into a bit of a rhythm, and you can hear the sound of your footsteps on the gravel on the ground, and you can just start to sort of get in time with it. And I've said to people in the past, you know, if you go out and you start walking, and if you struggle with that and you're at home and you just walk 5 minutes, you go out and you walk 5 minutes one day, and the next day you walk 10 minutes, and the next day 20 minutes, and the next day 30 minutes, the next day 40 minutes, and then you do a big circular route. No matter where you live, whether it be a city or the countryside, you just go out for a walk, and it's amazing how good that is for you. And the digestive system starts to move, and you don't realise just how much your stomach and everything else and all your organs rely on walking and moving. And if you don't do it, they all start to clag up and you get problems. And getting out walking makes a hell of a difference. It's almost changed my life after my stroke. In fact, it has changed my life after my stroke. Keeping moving does everything from keeping my blood pumping around my body and keeping myself moving, keeping my brain active, keeping everything active. But then to get out and go for a walk, and I've got to be honest, this is too hot for me today. It's summer and I prefer autumn, winter. I prefer the colours, the light and everything in autumn, winter, and obviously prefer taking pictures in autumn and winter. But I don't care, I just like to be out. The only advantage of when it's warm is it makes you sweat like you've been in a sauna for a while. But at the end of the day, you've got to do what you want to do. But I guarantee you that getting out and about is so good for you, it's unbelievable. I don't think I'd still be here today if I didn't go for a walk every day. One of the other amazing things about woodland is how cool it is in the woodland, and that's really, really hot today. But even under the canopy of these trees, it's many degrees cooler than it would be if we were out there and it's not even, it's a bit of cloud cover today, but trust me, it's warm out there. It's probably about 29, 30 today. So being in this tree cover in the cool is not only good for us, but it's good for Jake as well. So that's one of the beautiful things about walking in Clumber Park or any forestry area, is how cool you can get in the woods. Obviously some people like it really, really hot, and some people like it cold. Some people are winter people, some people are summer people. I'm sort of a spring and autumn person, but I can deal with winter, but I do prefer all of them over summer. It may sound strange, but I don't know why. I've never been overly a keen fan of summer, and I've never been overly a keen fan of holidays abroad in the heat, because all it does is make me feel hot and want to laze around and do nothing, and I find it really difficult to sit on my ass and do nothing all day. Well, quick introduction to this. I'm in Clumber Park. I don't know how this is going to go. I've already filmed some yesterday. Obviously going to film some today, which is Sunday, and then I'm going to try and do the main video Monday. I wanted to get various different footage on various different days, basically because the light's so different, and I don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. And this is a little bit of an insight into what I do when I'm away and what I do with my phone. I hadn't decided whether to show you what I do with my Fuji camera or with an iPhone. I think I'm going to stick this time to just what I do with an iPhone. Something interesting happened yesterday. I found a little way that I could walk, video, and then take photos, which you can obviously do with a phone, and then edit them and then show them to you. One of the interesting things that happened yesterday was, because it was a bit overcast when I was going to try and get a photograph of this house, I lined up the shot, and obviously the sun was behind the clouds. Now I didn't know that, obviously, because I couldn't see the sun, and I didn't open up my sun surveyor on my phone and check where the sun was, because I just assumed it wasn't there. So what happened was, the sky blew out, and obviously rescuing that is almost impossible once you've not protected it. So Well, that's one of the downsides to a small sensor camera, like a phone, or even 1.6 crop or something like that, or, you know, the smaller sensor cameras don't have the dynamic range of the medium format cameras. And after I've owned a couple of GFXs, you know, they are absolutely amazing. Funnily enough, one of the original Fujifilm X100s, the dynamic range and the way the sensor array worked was absolutely amazing for, got a spider hanging off my nose. Anyway, so it's all about what I do and where I go, and just how I enjoy myself. And one of the things is when I'm videoing myself as well, is using a small sensor phone. Unless it's great, brilliant, like the video I'm doing now, it's going to look a bit washed out and muddy because it's not brilliant light. So the sensor's not getting the light it needs to create a great colour palette as such. So it may look a little bit muddy and washed out, but I'm sure you can all live with that, especially when I'm filming this way round on this camera on this side as well. So yes, just this morning, I've got a busy day today, so all I'm doing this morning is taking Jake for a walk this morning, but I always take my phone with me because you never know what's going to happen. The truth is, this is the wrong time of year, and it's too hot. The light's too harsh by the time I get up. The dynamic range is too much, and you've got to get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning at this time of year. So it's not my favourite time of year of walking out with a camera, but I said I'd do it when I came out, so I'm going to do it. So, and I feel like I can, so I'm going to. So yes, onward and upward. And so far, the opening video before this was all shot on the Saturday, and this is now shot on the Sunday. And I'll try and tell you what days they were shot on so you can see what the weather was like. I was expecting it to actually be more overcast today than it is. The weather forecast was a little bit wrong. So it's actually really nice. As you can probably see, every now and again I disappear behind the sun flares, but I love a bit of sun flare, by the way. I love it. But I've got some amazing pictures here as I've walked down here, and I'll dig them out and I'll put them into this video. And they weren't shot this weekend, they were shot before. The ones that are shot this weekend, you'll see me walking with the camera, holding the camera, pointing it somewhere, and then I'll actually take a photograph and just try and show you how I do it. Now, as I say, it's not going to be the best. The composition's not going to be the best in the world. They're not going to be the best landscape photographs. They're just going to be images I take to remind me of my trips, and hopefully you'll enjoy them as well. In the autumn, in the sort of springish maybe, but mostly in the autumn, this dappled light coming through these trees here is absolutely stunning. There's a gateway I've just passed, and I'll put the photograph in, and it's just those autumn colours and autumn light and that little bit of autumn mist is what you need to make an amazing photograph. Now, a lot of people try and make an amazing photograph in AI or Photoshop or anything else, but for me, it's the feeling you get when you see something amazing and you take that photograph that lives with you forever. It doesn't have to be perfect. What it has to do is represent how you saw it and how it made you feel that day. And when I'm out and about, being able to look at beautiful autumn colours and beautiful, this isn't obviously summer light, but beautiful warm autumn light makes me feel good. And then when I look at the photograph, it doesn't have to be the best composed in the world. I just look at it and think, God, I remember that day. That was absolutely lovely. I think at the end of the day, photography for me and for a few people is therapeutic in many ways. And I suppose one of the main ways is whether you actually take photographs or not, you're out with a camera. And I suffered with stroke anxiety, and I've had IBS in the past. Really bad, and IBS comes and goes with me with the anxiety. So when I'm out with a camera, when I'm using the camera to take photographs, all that just drifts away. And I know people that have had all sorts of other mental health issues and everything else that find using a camera really, really helpful, and it's sort of like they hide behind the camera in a way, but it gives them something to cling on to. So me, for photography as therapy thing, I don't hark on about it too much, but what I do is appreciate the fact that it really is helpful. And back in the day when I used to carry tons of gear around, even when I was a pro photographer, carrying too much gear around makes it the opposite. It makes it a burden. It's like a burden you're carrying around your neck. And sometimes you see people at the photography show with tons and tons and tons of camera gear, walking around sweating, having to sit down every 5 minutes. I don't actually get that. I don't get that at all. But being out and about in the countryside, or even in a city, is what I like. You know, it's an amazing feeling just to be out and be free, and just to be out and be amongst nature and relax. I sat in the middle of Paternoster Square in London once and thought to myself, God, it's amazing, like you're in amongst all these people, but you feel so alone and yet so free. It's quite amazing the way that you can use photography to make you see things differently. There's a section of woodland here. Let's see if you can see it behind me. This tree here, it's got hundreds of people's names carved in it, and it's very interesting. And this section of woodland here, it's just like an opening here in the woods, and I absolutely love it. It's you can't get a photograph here, unfortunately, but there's like well, you can get some photographs, but they just don't look very good. You can't get a really good composition, but there's an amazing branch on this tree here that scoops down. I want to get a couple of reference photographs here and try and draw this in pen and ink, because I can probably do a good drawing here because I can't get it. And so the kids have built up all this here, and then over here there's a swing on the tree here, so I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, there's my nice little bit of opening there. So I've taught all sorts of photography, from street photography to landscape photography to long exposure photography. One of the reasons I used to hate teaching landscape photography, and I won't bore you with it too much, but the mentality of people to come on a landscape photography workshop, for you to set their camera up to get a photograph that they take home and tell their friends that they did, I find quite astonishing. And there's quite a lot of that in the wildlife game as well. So photography isn't about getting that one picture that you may want to put into a competition, especially if you've cheated and got someone else to set it up for you. Photography is about creating images and creating art that's special to you personally, that you've got a connection to. If someone else has taken that photograph, then it's their photograph, whether they press the shutter button or not. If they've set your camera up, put it on a tripod and everything. I know this actually happened once. I know a woman that went on a workshop that the instructor basically got her cameras out of the car, set everything up, put the camera on the tripod, focused it, put all the filters on, set it all up. She pressed the shutter button, and she actually won one of the parts of the landscape photographer of the year. And at the event, my friend was there, and he said, I can't believe you're standing there telling everyone you took that shot, because all you did was press the shutter button, because I set everything up for you, did everything for you. And she said, yeah, but I took it, I pressed the shutter button. And I'm afraid that mentality doesn't wash for me, because I'd much rather see, Jacob, I'd much rather see actually, my dog was right then, that's funny. I'm telling my dog to come this way. We've only been here about 3 times, and he knows which way to go. That mentality doesn't wash for me. At the end of the day, learn the skill, and then learn to do it yourself. Get out there, take photographs. It doesn't have to be brilliant, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's all part of the learning curve. And it's this, being out on your own, being free, being with a camera, that makes it work. I mean, whether it be street photography, landscape photography, motorsport photography, learn it yourself. Learn to be good at your craft. You don't have to be the best, but learn to make it something that you enjoy, and learn to get out there and do it. And, you know, I've always said it, and I say it over and over again, the more time you spend with a camera in the hand, the better you'll get. And you don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the perfect shot. It just has to be something that pleases you, that you maybe want to put on your wall. And not even that, it can be reference photographs. Some people just get out with a camera every day of the week and take reference photographs and enjoy that. I appreciate every form. It's interesting how you can get into things. Jane is not naturally a photographer, and I'm not saying naturally gifted, she actually takes some really good photographs, but she always says, oh, it's much too much to it, and so she likes to use her iPhone. But There is too much to it. To actually learn photography is quite difficult to master the exposure triangle and get everything right. But, you know, this day and age, cameras you can use on auto, so why not, you know. But Jane uses her phone a lot, and she's been doing a long-term project. So the project's been going on for several years, probably 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 years. I don't even know. I haven't even counted, and it's not going to conclude anytime soon. And I'm not even going to tell you what it is. It's not fair, because I said to her I wouldn't tell anyone. So she's been doing this long-term project, and she doesn't do it every day. She doesn't do it every week. She doesn't do it every month. Mostly she does it when we're away on holiday, but she can do it when we're at home if she wants to. But she's documenting these things, and I think at the end of it, when she makes her book, it'll be really, really good. Now, it may not be the best technically photographed project in the world, but she's loving in it. She enjoys it, and she's got criteria for each shot. And I think it's going to be really, really good. As long as she doesn't delete any, she'll be fine. But I think that's the thing is, and I've always gone on about projects, and projects are really important, and it's something I'm going to go on to with my YouTube channel as I progress, and that is projects. It's not very, I used to do my projects workshop, as I've probably said a million times, but I have to put some project bits on here, and I will do more to explain more. But, you know, being out and taking photographs, some people want to work towards something and some people don't. And I fully get that. Some people aren't interested. Some people don't want to even progress. They just want to take snaps. And that's fine as well. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, cameras are for everybody. The only thing that's ever pissed me off is when someone calls themselves a pro photographer when they're just a snapper. Because you just got to admit what you are. And that's the Dunning-Kruger effect, which I've spoken about before. Because at the end of the day, photography is for everyone the same as walking, and everything else is. And anyway, so can't wait to see Jane's project. When it is done, if she ever concludes it, I will put it on here for you all to see. So if you look at this gateway and this woodland here, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, with time of year of different light and how you can make things different. I'll add in a couple of photographs here that were taken in the autumn, in beautiful autumn light, compared with all this harsh light now. And at the end of the day, what you want is, you want the great light and the autumn colours, and there is a difference. And yes, of course you can make it in AI or you can make it in Photoshop, but why would you want to? Well, I understand there are people that just want to because they want to spend all the time sitting there doing it, but personally I'd much rather be out here photographing it. The more you think about photography, the more complicated you can make it sometimes. And I suppose me coming from the film days, and people always slag people off that talk about analog days and this, that and the other, but it was such a great learning curve to learn how to develop and process film as well as use a film camera, because there's no cheating with it. You couldn't just pick it up out of the box and use it. You had to learn how to use it. You had to learn the exposure triangle, and it doesn't really matter whether you started out like that or you started out now with digital and you just pick the camera up out of the box and you could take photographs with it every day. One of the most important things to do is learn when to press that button and when not. Now, a lot of people will say that these days memory is cheap, take millions of photographs, and that's true, you can. I would say the only downside to that is then you've got to look at them all, and there's millions of photographs on hard drives or on phones that have never been looked at or never been viewed. And I always think that the less you take, the less there is to go through, the less there is to view, the less there is to sort out. And I agree that if you're shooting something on stage or shooting sport and you want to rattle off thousands of shots, you can go and find that perfect shot. In a way, you might as well just video it and take a screen capture from the video, to be honest with you. But my walking around photography is much more considered. And if I just think it's going to be shit and the light is shit, I just don't bother taking it. And I'll come back another day and I'll visit the same place again. Okay, that doesn't ring true for if you're only going to visit a place once in your lifetime. If you're only going to go to Venice once, you want to get as much as you can out of that holiday. So you can take more shots because it's more considered. But ironically, I've been to Venice a couple of times and there's only so much you can do there. But the light is one of the most important things there. So it's the light, the people, the textures of the buildings around you, etc. And this weekend, while I'm away, I'm thinking more of what there is in the way of detail in trees and the canopy and the light. And today the light's pretty flat, it's Monday today. on the third day of making this, and the light's pretty flat. There's no light shining through the trees like there was when I was last talking to you, so I have to think about it. But the truth of the matter is, as I've said, there isn't much to shoot at the moment because the light's just wrong. And I'm going to put some in, as I say, I'm putting some images in here for you to look at that I shot last time here when I was in October 2023, when the light was perfect. And I'd much rather wait until the light's perfect than take shots and waste time. But I'm going to show you a few things today. One of the considerations to make when you're planning to take a few landscape photographs, or any photographs really, is landscape or portrait. And when I used to shoot stock, I used to shoot one of each. And that's basically to give me more options when I'm selling stock. When I shoot landscape, I try and work with the composition more and what fits in where. And just remember this, when you photograph, like for instance, a church spire or something like that, or something or a big building, make sure you give enough room at the top of the building for it to breathe. Give it a gap, and also give it a little bit extra, because you never know if it will balance out properly when you sit down and look at it on a monitor. So the best thing to do is shoot it and give it room to breathe and give it a bit extra just in case, and then you can always crop in. But if you don't shoot enough, even though with these days with AI tech you can actually make it a bit bigger, but it's just not worth it. It's a lot easier just to get it right first of all. I very rarely these days shoot portrait mode, but it depends what it is. And I've got a couple of images I shot in this piece of woodland here that work a little bit better that way, but they don't work very well on 16:9 on YouTube. I always find this little bit of pathway amazing. These trees always look like you just come out of a woodland behind us, and it's very dark and gloomy, and these trees always just seem to grow up like sentinels. And obviously the weather's all wrong today, but in the right weather, in the mist, with the right light on them, they're a completely different tree, and with the contrast different, they're absolutely amazing. And it's just personal things that you like, and I think, you know, if you're going to enjoy your photography, shooting personal things that you like are the most important thing, and not copying what other people do. Because if you're copying what other people do, you're not learning about your style, what you want and how you want to shoot it. Some of this woodland is absolutely fantastic. I'm not very good at doing woodland photography. One of the best is Mark Littlejohn. If you look at his work, I'll try and find a link to him, put it below. Mark Littlejohn, considering what he used to do for a living, and the fact that he's retired now and he takes photographs of beautiful landscapes and woodland, one landscape photographer of the year at one point in time, as he would say, it's just one photograph. But his work, there's so much little details in woodland that I find are absolutely amazing. But getting fantastic photographs of silver birch or different types of trees in different weather, I do struggle with, but I just take them personally for myself. And when the light's right and everything, as I keep saying, you know, this is walking through here, it's very, very green. And obviously he uses different techniques to make his work stand out from the crowd. And that's all good stuff. Personally, myself, I try and shoot things when the light's right for me and the way I do it. And then it's my style. And that makes my work different, I suppose. And it also makes it more difficult because it means I can't get thousands of photographs when I go out for a walk. I just get a few when the weather's right and the light's right. But that's the way I prefer it, to be honest with you. But as I say, check out Mark Littlejohn's work. It's always a hard decision, composition. You can read up on it for years and years and years, or you can just look and appreciate the water rippling, or you can smooth the water out, or you want to get more of the sky or more of the water, balance the bridge out, get it level. Who knows? It's all personal, really. Obviously, I don't like stupid things like that or that. I never have done, but some people do, and it's all personal choice. This little waterfall is nothing special, but any waterfall is somewhere where you can just practice doing long exposure photographs, or do whatever you want, really. You can do it with a camera and a tripod, and as you can see up the back there, you've got the bridge, and you can work with whatever you want. This is all 16:9, but you can obviously get it how you want, and you can do slow motion. I use an app called Spectre app. So as I just said, I use Spectre app. You can make them black and white or colour in your processing afterwards, it's up to you. It's just a quick little reference point for me of either getting slow water or water as it is naturally. It's totally up to you, and sometimes water flows so fast that it's blurry anyway, and it's all personal choice. As I say, we all have different thoughts and feelings about everything, especially landscape. Funny really, I've walked past here a million times and I've never really looked at this and thought that's quite nice. There's a bit of off-putting stuff in the distance, but you can hardly see it anyway, which is just a few flags and stuff. But that's quite like the way that bench sits and those silver birch trees sit, and just the way the mildew or whatever it is, moss falls in the water. Literally whatever falls on the water behind as well. So I quite like that scene. I'll just take a couple of shots of it, see what it processes like. It might be something, it might be not. It must just be actually it's algae on the water. That's the word I was trying to think of. This is very flat here. It's the classic view across the lake of Clumber Park that I've never seen a good shot of. If you get close and line it up with the wall and try and balance up the composition, or you get right in on the church, nothing really seems to look or work as well as anything. I've never really seen anything good. I'll show you what the Camping and Caravanning Club did in one of their toilets a little bit later, and you know, getting this to actually work. The sky's right today, the clouds are right today, but getting a really good landscape photograph out of it I think is quite difficult. So this is a couple of photographs, the bridge and across to the church, two different views taken on the Clumber Park Caravan and Camping Club site, and it just goes to show how they've been used. And this image, as I was talking about earlier, is quite flat and boring, and it's a landscape image and it shows a sense of place, but it's not a brilliant image. And this one here, exactly the same. It's a picture of the bridge. It's not a complete bridge. I prefer to see the complete bridge. And there's some colour fringing and haloing actually when you look in close where it's been blown up. So they're not perfect, but most people wouldn't even care less whether it's perfect or not, which is what I tend to talk about when I do my stuff. There's the absolute perfect photograph, technically perfect, done in every perfect possible way, taken by a professional landscape photographer, and there's stuff that you just take to remember the day by. It's funny, isn't it, what people like and don't like. I've always struggled at Clumber Park here to get a photograph of this church that I like, and I think I always will do. And seeing it different times of year and different places and from different points of view in the park, I think you have to really decide what sort of composition you want and whereabouts you want it balanced, and if you want the church on the on a third like that, or either on that third or with the more of the tree. Composition is so much about what you want and what you don't want. And even though there are rules you can put in place, like put that church on the third and go from there, I find that, for me, works more of as a balanced composition. Or even maybe back there with more of these flowers in the foreground and make more of the flowers than the actual church. But as I say, I like to include the bench, I think, but it's very personal, and it's all about getting it right, isn't it? I just love areas like this. The sky's right today. There is a bit of sun up there somewhere and it might blow out the sky, I don't know, I'll try it in a second. But getting this right, getting the composition right, it just has to work for you. I think Jane's too far away now, let's move in. That might work, but as I say, most of these are all just for me. So, but the trees here are absolutely fantastic, all in that long grass over there. The contrast still a little bit too much here, but I absolutely love Clumber Park for this, and I think the more times I come back, the more I explore, the more I decide whether there's a shot in something or not. And I could walk up this same path over and over again and try and decide, and then one day I just think, wow, that might do you know what I mean? But as I say, and I've said it millions of times in this video I'm making, landscape's a funny thing. Even when I used to teach it, I used to give people what I would call gifts, and the photographs that they would get are just gifts that they've seen over and over again, and they've seen it a million times before, and that's the photograph they want. all the classic shots and the classic views. Just go there and get it and go away and say you got that chocolate box photograph. But I prefer something different. And maybe it's because I do Spitter Street and I prefer something no one else has got. So I prefer to try and just shoot something that I really, really like, that I know probably no one stood here and take a photograph of. I mean, hardly anyone's probably stood where I'm standing now, got their camera out and taken a photograph like this today and thought anything of it, because they want that classic shot that they see on the front page of everything else. It's amazing. You probably think I'm a bit of a tree hugger, and I don't care, but you can't really see the definitions of these trees really because they look a bit dark, but I just think trees are amazing and they look so different all year round. And no matter what country park or wherever you are in the UK, apart from some of the Scottish Islands, there's always some amazing trees to look at. Getting a good composition on one, and especially when they're all bunched together, is a whole different kettle of fish. Matt Walkley quite likes getting those single tree shots in the middle of nowhere that are personal to him. And to be honest with you, someone's probably never even photographed half the trees he's photographed. So I don't know whether this was not so much a video guide, but or a how-to even, more of a video diary for a few days. It's Tuesday morning now. The light's a little bit warmer this morning, coming through the trees behind me. I wanted to do this a little bit earlier, before the day got really going and the light changed and the contrast changed. And as I say, I don't know whether it's a video more of a video diary than a how-to guide, and maybe I should do how-to guides in the future. I don't know. What do you want to see? Because I don't know whether what you guys want. I like to try and continue doing stuff like this. I remember once giving a talk, and the talk was about my style of landscape. You just got to remember this. The talk was about my style of landscape. And one of the guys said, where do I focus? And I said, well, for this shot, I focused a third into the frame and set the aperture to f/16. And then he started grilling me on hyperfocal distance, etc. And asking me why I didn't use this and why I didn't use that. And I thought, well, I know where this lens's peak focus is, and it isn't on its hyperfocal distance, because I've actually measured it, and all lenses are different, especially with the curvature of the lens and everything else. Some lenses drop off, and anyway, I won't bore you with all that, but the point of fact is, he asked me where I focused, and I told him. I don't want my YouTube stuff to be all technical, because I don't think they need to be all technical, and I don't overly want them to be a how-to put your camera on a tripod guides. I just don't think I need to. I'd much rather them be for people to go out, go for a walk and enjoy themselves with their camera, whether it be street photography or landscape photography or any type of photography really. Some of the stuff I enjoy on YouTube is just stuff that flows, that's easy to watch, easy to listen to, and show some nice photographs. Now, I know my landscape photographs aren't the best in the world. They're certainly not David Noten style photographs, and they're certainly not Mark Littlejohn style photographs. But what I try to do is every time I go out, I try to improve a little bit more and a little bit more to get something I want. And when I'm shooting on my phone, obviously I'm not going to get best in class photographs, and I don't want them. The landscape photographer, not landscape, wildlife photography people, birds have to be in a certain position on a certain twig on a certain day and I'm sorry, I just can't be bothered. You know what I mean? I like to just go out and enjoy my photography, and that's the most important part of it. And I'm hoping the people that watch my channel enjoy their photography too. Yes, of course, I want to give you tips and tricks, etc., that I use, whether it be with a phone or with a camera, and I'll endeavour to do that. But it's more about how I work, not about the technical side. I think there's enough technical YouTube channels. I don't think I need to make any more. There's a lot of channels that give every single f-stop and shutter speed and everything, and I don't overly think I need to do that. But if you think I do, please let me know below, and I'll do a few like it. But it's not my intention. My intention is to do more of this, video diaries about where I go and what I do, and amazing areas like this, and to be able to show you some of the stuff that I get up to. Sort of a journey of my life, a bit of a journey of my life, and a little bit of a story about my life and what I do, to show people what I do and how I do it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video diary experience. I don't know how it's worked. Let me know below, and if you have enjoyed it, next time I come back here or go to the Lake District or go to Scotland, I'll try and throw another one together. I can't remember his name, but there's a guy on Instagram that sort of inspired me, and he does a very quick video diary of his day when he does walks. I can't remember his name, and it's I've sort of wanted to do it years and years ago, and I've bought various different cameras over the years to try and put together video diaries. And the worst part about it is back in the day was stability, the fact that light changes so much and everything else. And of course, the truth of the matter is, phone technology and iPhone technology has come along so well that I can now do it sort of how I wanted to. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. This has been Clumber Park over a few days, and hopefully I'll make some more. Next time I come back in Clumber Park, it'll obviously be winter probably, so I'll make another one here in the winter to show you some of the differences. And I'll add a load of the photographs from this time and last time and the time before at the end of this video for you to have a look at. They're all shot on my iPhone, and they're all shot by me. They're all shot at various different times of the year. And I hope you enjoy it, and see you on the next video. Just to finish off, just as I finished talking, I turned around and looked at this. Now, I think that's absolutely lovely. And personally, it would be a portrait shot, and I'd step back a little bit like this and try and get a little bit more of the trees in and the bottoms in and take that. But it works either way. It depends where you want to get the composition. I don't know, something like that. As I say, I don't want to do tutorials. Remember, you can always zoom with your feet, or you can go wider like that. It's up to you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's balancing it all out in the frame. There you go. I don't know, maybe the... Did you all just tilt on your side then? Anyway, have fun. See you on the next video.